I'll try it again. And maybe I am connected there. Let's see how this works. It's a Wednesday morning. And I am I'm in my spot. I am so hopefully today it seems like day 3 into this. Let's see. So good morning. I think it is, yes, good morning. Fabulous morning to you. I am excited because just maybe today, I finally got how to maneuver on this new software that I'm using, and I have been all week, it was my commitment to start at the beginning of this new year broadcasting both over YouTube as well as over Facebook. And hopefully today is the day that, look, is it the third time is a charm? So I am prayerful that this is working today. So good morning, and I am so glad that you are joining me today. I'm still working this system out, and hopefully not only will I get on here at 8 o'clock when it's my appointed time, but also have both streams up and running and doing this. If this is your first time seeing me, I do and have done for 500 and some odd days, 560 days now, have done a live stream over Facebook where I talk about a number of things. I have actually shared this platform with other people, and still do, in fact, on Thursdays. I shared this platform with other people, went through, read books. I've done a couple of books on here where we dissected a book and talked about reflections from that book. And then there are many other things that I love doing, what I just call a stream of consciousness, where we just talk about whatever issues come up. I am excited for this opportunity to share with you, and hopefully to expand, because this is actually good stuff. I mean, whether or not you are into this kind of sharing, it is all with the idea of helping us to develop ourselves consciously by either, whether we address issues that are spiritual in nature. I am like a minister, philosophical in nature. That was my love in college. Mythology is also a love of mine, as well as, I'm just so on politics, but I pay attention to politics. Actually, I'm actually kind of politically involved, but, on a small level. And there are so many different things that come into play as we do this. And so I'm honored by your attention, and hopefully you will find something in here that applies to you. What I do know is that every time I come in here to talk, there is something that has a tendency to land not only on me, but on other people that resonates with them. And so whether or not you even knew that you had something that you needed to be aware of or pay attention to, when you hear it and you get that ding, 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 ding feeling, you know that it was meant just for you. And that is one of the wonderful things about doing this stream of consciousness kind of feel is that when people tune in, or when you come up, it is as if spirit has given something that is just tailor-made for you. One of the things that Marianne Williamson says is that the universe has a highly individualized curriculum that is made for each and every one of us with the aim of getting us to our highest and best, right? So if it is the growth potential that we are seeking, or self-actualization, or forgiveness, or just understanding things from a different perspective. If you have issues in your marriage or trauma or whatever it is, all of those things are things that we touch on, I touch on, and if you want to expand on anything, you could just actually, there's a conversation that can take place here. And I welcome those connections too, so that you can, really think about what you think about. I just think that is it's a grand way to just, to be able to process information, whatever that may mean for you. And I know for me, when I'm in these situations, I love, love, love being able to listen and learn. And it usually tells me something about myself. And you will hear me say from time to time again, Sandra, talk to yourself. Because that's exactly what I do. I have this feeling that some of the things that come through me just for me, not even for anybody else. It's for me. And so I'm grateful for that in that regard. Now, the way that this works, if this is the first time you're seeing me, is I come on here and I talk for about an hour. Because I can talk. I could talk a few hours, but I got work to do. I got work, baby. So I try to get to, to actually kind of contain this within an hour, and then I move on. But in that hour, I share with you what I read, which is part of, I start off my day with all of these different things. So whether it is my meditation or my journaling or my daily guides or that wonderful shower that I take or whatever it is, my day consists of a number of different things. And so by the time I get here to this, I am really like down to reading for you the daily guides that I have stopped reading beforehand and started just doing this thing, right? So I'm trying some different stuff. So let me read for you the daily guides, and then I'll get into, I don't even know what all I am talking about today, because I've got so many things that I want to talk to you about. But for right now, let's do the daily guides. I can have some music, please. Please. No, maybe that's one of those things I need to get. Music, right? Okay, so for Wednesday, January 4th, out of the Science of Mind magazine, I just happened to keep a copy here on my desk so you could see what the little magazine looks like. This is the Science of Mind magazine. This is an old copy. And in this particular one, they were talking to Carlton Pearson, and I keep it on my desk. Maybe because I like the way the man looks, or what he stands for, but I've got a number of them here that are on my desk because I love to pull out affirmations for them. What's an affirmation? An affirmation is positive statements that you make over yourself that changes your mind. It is like this repetition thing that then begins to reprogram your mind in a way that you would have yourself to think. And so if an affirmation can be any number of things, like I love me unconditionally, or that good and very good is happening to you now. An affirmation could be anything that you want to realign yourself to think and believe. And so part of this daily guide is that they have these wonderful affirmations that go along with what it is that is shared in the magazine. So so I'm going to share with you this one for today, which is how do we speak truth? These particular daily guides, this particular month, were written by Dr. Marilyn Louise Leo. And I had to read up a little bit on her, and she is well studied in Ernest Holmes' science of mind type of thing. And so here we go. How do we speak truth? And her first quote, each of these contain two quotes. The second is always by Ernest Holmes. But this one she is taking from out of the Bible. And it says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." That's out of John 8:2. And then from Ernest Holmes, "Your invisible power." Ooh. It says, "Truth, the truth being that which is must, that which is must include all that was, or is, or shall ever be. And that which is, and being all that is, there can be nothing unlike it, different from it, or opposed to it." Interesting way of talking about truth, huh? And so she asked a question, what is truth? According to Ernest Holmes, she says, truth is the thing itself. Truth is the thing itself. It is intangible, it is invisible, and we can see only its results. It is the universal creative intelligence and power many call God. Now, I do this. Okay, I do this, and if you watched me do any of the books, you know that I come to full stops after sentences because that's part of the way that I process information and engage with information. I hope that you too have a process when you are studying or reading anything where you send it through the filter of your own experience. And so, like I am fond of saying, we all have this highly individualized curriculum, this awareness. We come with a set of things that we each can think about and ponder. I am hoping that when you encounter something, anything, that it goes through the processes of your thinking. So when the question is asked, what is truth? And she says, according to Ernest Holmes. This is not necessarily according to her. According to Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of Science of Mind, truth is the thing itself. It is intangible, invisible, and we can only see its results, is what it says. It is the universal creative intelligence and power that many call God. Listen to that again. Universal creative intelligence and power that many people call God. And it is always present in our lives and only needs acknowledgement. It never changes. This is according to Ernest Holmes. Often we think certain things in our life are truth, but in reality, they are effects, results of something else. They can change as the wind blows through our lives. We cannot depend on them to always remain true or the same. Some things by necessity do remain consistent, but not everything. Let's analyze some truth statements you may have heard or see if they hold up. Love and beauty surrounds me. That's her first one. Love and beauty surrounds me. That's true for me, right? I am the director of my mind, my thoughts. Love is the base, the foundation of all creation. And this all depends on who you're asking, right? But one of the wonderful things I know is that we can train ourselves. We can train our minds to perceive differently than what we do. You are not a victim of the world you see. Okay, let me read the other truth statement. She says, infinite intelligence propels me into higher levels of living. All right, so in the Science of Mind book on page 147, it's back there on my shelf, Holmes tells us that the spirit of truth will lead us into all good. This is the high road to the fulfillment of our lives. It is time to move your conscious thoughts to higher levels of love, gratitude, of creating and living. Today is a day of change, she says. Say to yourself, I look on this day with fresh eyes, looking for and seeing the world in new and different ways. At first, it may be difficult to see love and beauty surrounding you or your loved ones, but with practice and thinking in new ways, this affirmation will be meaningful and bringing about the love you desire. So, if you've heard me before, this is going to prompt me to talk a little bit about me and my dad, because this is one of the stories that I love to tell when it comes down to this. But let me give you the affirmation that goes with this. Her affirmation is my cup runneth over with gratitude for higher thoughts that change me this day. So let me give you my higher thought for this day. I often tell the story about me and my father because we used to have a rather contentious relationship. My dad was, I loved my dad, but we did not get along. It was kind of like, do I want to say oil and water? Hey, Erica. Yes, good morning to you, dear. Yes, the Zoom room has been shifted, and I am trying some new software, and we'll see how it works out. I'm still trying to work out the dynamics. You see, it's that way. I got this over here and that up there, kind of trying to do something with the frame, whatever. Good morning to you. So I often talk about this when I talk about my dad, because it comes down to this thing about if I'm saying to you that the world is, love and beauty surround me, or peace is mine, or if I'm saying I'm the director of my mind and thoughts, a lot of times we don't recognize that we have the power. Oh, excuse me. As well as the responsibility to not only monitor our thoughts, but to know that we can control them. If you change your thinking, you can literally change your life. We think the way we do out of habit. Believe it or not, we have a habitual way of thinking. If you have the habit or have had from experience, developed the habit of seeing a dangerous, untrustworthy world, it's not necessarily that the world is such, but if you've had experiences in your life that make you believe that, then those experiences will have persistent, having a persistent cause to them. So if the cause makes you see that people are distrustful or angry or, whatever it is that is the thought behind that, you will revert to that way of thinking all the time because it's your habit of thought. And so when you want to change your mind, when you decide that, I want to change how I see things, then that means that you've got to put in a new, figure out how to put in new data so that you can change things. My dad was one who was always saying certain things to me that just seemed to me harmful, hurtful, those types of things. And so what I needed to do was to change my mind about what it was that he was saying and the reasons he was saying it. And so what I chose to hear instead of the criticisms was I chose to hear him saying that I'm criticizing you or I'm saying these things because I actually love you. I trained myself to hear that. And so as I trained my mind to hear it differently, what I heard then going forward over time, and this was not overnight, it was something that took time to happen. Good morning, Sandra, darling. How are you? It took some time to happen. And so as a result, it eventually did. It actually happened. So I would say to you that that you can change your thinking, you can change your mind simply by changing around how it is that you how you receive things. Thank you, Sandra. I just looked over and saw your hand over on the other side. The way that comes in is very different over here. And I need to see if I can increase the size of the font so I can actually see when stuff comes through. I don't know if I can or not, but I definitely want to figure out how to work that. So thank you for telling me that, because I don't always know if this is working. So yay, 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 yay. So okay, so I'm going to read Ray Mont's for today, and then go on from there. I don't know about y'all, but how is your year so far? I'm wondering about that. How is your year going so far? Are you like optimistic and hopeful? I will tell you, the funniest thing happened to me on Monday. So that is the 2nd of January. I got a call from a friend of mine who I hadn't seen in ages, but who was right in my area. And I was like, hey, can you come? I said I wasn't doing any of the superstitious stuff this year, right? But I certainly said to him, I said, hey, can you come and walk through my door? And it was one of those things that just felt so delicious. I mean, it was just, it was good. It's good. And so I don't know if because I didn't get into this year, I didn't do all the black eyed peas and the greens and all the stuff that they say that you're supposed to do. I didn't do any of that stuff. And yet what I'm experiencing is just deliciousness, Yummy, yummy good. So here we go. Let me do Reverend Ray Mont's, and then perhaps we could take off running. Okay. So under Reverend Ray Mont's for today, it says nothing to heal, only truth to reveal. Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. And from Paul Bettany as Vision on the show WandaVision, the first quote that he uses is what is grief if not love persevering? What is grief if not love persevering? So I'm going to tell you guys about the show that I've been watching too. So from Ernest Holmes, Can We Talk to God? Ernest Holmes' quote goes like this: spiritual healing is not willing, wishing, beseeching, or repeating a lot of formulas. It is a result of a dawning perception of spirit incarnated in the one needing help. Let me say that. It is a result of a dawning perception of spirit. Dawning, like to come over. You know how dawn comes like gently, it just kind of rises or it kind of eases in. a dawning perception of spirit, right? That's good. That's good. I like that word too. The illusion of opposites disappear from our mental perception, and we come to realize that we are whole and we shall be made whole. So let me, that's from Ernest Holmes' Can We Talk to God? Let me read what Reverend Raymond said in this regard. He says, let's reiterate for linguistic reasons what we mean by spiritual healing. We refer to the healing of circumstances, situations, and experiences in our lives and the lives of others. Yet we know and often repeat there is nothing to heal, only truth to be revealed. This is our way of affirming the awareness that as we reveal truth to ourselves, the situation, experience, the conditions change. The more we embody the truth of our divinity, the more we experience the thing we call healing in all areas of our lives. And yet, I love that phrase. There are some phrases that I just get into. So that and yet and behold and things like that. It just, I love it. He says, and yet, dot, 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 right? So it says, because of a strong tendency to avoid awkward and uncomfortable emotions and feelings, many tend to be superficially present. Alexander Pope wrote, for fools rush in where angels fear to tread. We are not able to simply be with someone when they are grieving. The superficiality prevents us from having uncomfortable and courageous conversations about race, gender, politics, and money. Let me just go back and share that again for you, because the superficiality, he says, prevents us from having uncomfortable and courageous conversations about things like race, gender, politics, and money. If we are to evolve, to reach higher, we are invited to heed the words of Valerie Kaur. When we are brave enough to sit with our pain, it deepens our ability to sit with the pain of others. It shows us how to love them. She also reminds us of the importance of healing and resolving grief individually and collectively. Unresolved grief, she says, I guess this is quotations marks, unresolved grief inside a person is tragic. Unresolved grief inside a nation is catastrophic. This is, let me finish reading because I can go off. Y'all know I could go off on this stuff. We are right now being invited to heal on a global scale. What truths are we being called to learn, teach, embody, and live? What truths are we? And so his affirmation that goes with this is today I allow the truth of oneness and unity to guide my actions. I am doing my own inner work that I may be a support to others in need. Yes. It is really interesting when we start to talk about these daily guides and where they take us. I can imagine that for conversations that we have, like I have on here, that there is something about them while I may talk about it on one level, it's really easy to walk away from this and not really deal with it. One of the things that we know is that for change to occur, it needs to have some repetition to it. It doesn't just happen because you do a one and done and, you hear about something, race or health or, something on a Monday or a Thursday. And then if you don't revisit it, or if it doesn't, sit with you for a while, it doesn't necessarily stay. There has to be some repetitiveness to what you are experiencing in order for it to really get into your system or to change you on a deep level. It's one of the reasons why when I read something or I have an experience with something, it seems to what I call arrest me. There is, I talk about this thing of arrested development from time to time because it arrests me. It means that I need to sit with it and sort of, kind of roll it over in my mind to do some mental gymnastics and to play with it if I actually want to be changed at a deeper level. If I just hear about it and don't revisit it, I have a tendency to forget all about it. We are like that with people and with names, right? You may encounter somebody, you find out their name, but unless there is a repetition to it, a rolling over of it, you might very well forget just that quickly what anything that they said, what their name was, or anything else like that. So repetition kind of solidifies things within your system. It solidifies ideas or thoughts, things like that. And so this, this introducing an idea is great. But now how do we then circle back on that concept to make it something that that becomes a part of who we are? That's one of the great things about when I started doing this particular thing, when I started talking on a daily basis. There is this wonderful circling back on myself with the things that arrest my attention, that I begin to think about, that I begin to embody. Now, sure enough, there are certain things that fall away just as quickly. I can talk about the things that I've read about. So whether we talked about epigenetics or whether we talked about the chakra system and the way that those things work, each one and what they're good for. I may not be able to tell you all the technical names to it, but I understand the way that each one works in our body. When we talk about health and healing, I may not tell you all the different details about our organs and what they do, blah, 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 and infinitum, because that is not necessarily my role. But what I do is build a body of information and knowledge around those types of things that enables me to understand when something comes up, it triggers for me a memory. What is it that becomes the thing that you focus in on, right? And unless there is this circling back on it, many times you can hear it and then simply forget it, or not give the proper attention to it, whatever that might mean. Sometimes things are too painful for us to do that with, right? So, I like to make things real. So I love to give examples, right? So say for instance, I know people who, here we are in 2023, and there are many people who are still feeling extremely isolated and have this level of good morning, sweetheart, how are you? And have this level of disconnect when it comes down to just being out and about and connecting to people. I know folks who haven't been on dates, who haven't figured out how to develop the kinds of relationships and friendships since the pandemic started, and are feeling and there's a feeling of disconnect that is in the air. And they have also a fear of speaking to it. It's as if by saying something about it or speaking to it, somehow they feel as if they will be diminished or in somebody else's sight, not thought very high. It's nice to be able to ask for what you want, to have the courage to ask for what you want, right? And to also acknowledge that, that some things are not just as easy as all of that, but to be able to say, I just need some FaceTime. I used to tell people I need to connect eyeballs, eyeball to eyeball, or to say I need a hug, or to ask somebody to walk through my door, right? Because it's New Year's and I just need somebody to come walking through my door. Whatever it is, to have the courage to ask for what you want is a big deal. And as I'm saying, you get the courage or develop the spiritual musculature to ask for what you want by asking for what you want. I mean, it sounds kind of like, I don't know, redundant to say it that way, but unless you ask, you do not receive. What do they say? The squeaky wheel gets the oil, or this idea of putting it out there, of calling forth what you want. And so sometimes we develop this musculature just by taking the chances. Let me take the chance to say, I want to see you, or let's take a chance in approaching somebody that we might not have approached before. Even it's funny. I got a good friend of mine. I get these. I love the way that Spirit works with me. I got this. There was a woman. I was out to breakfast with some friends, and we were sitting at the table having breakfast, and there was a woman who I saw across the room, and she looked so peaceful. There was just how you see somebody and there is just a presence about them that is so peaceful, and it seems so sure. And I saw this in her, and I went over and asked her, hey, do you want to come sit with us? Because she was by herself. You want to come sit with us? And she looks at me and she was like, no. Like I'm fine. No, she kind of gave me some brush off thing, like, no. And okay, so I thought, okay, cool. And then I was so compelled by it that I then went over, I wrote down my phone number on a sheet of paper or a card or whatever. And I went over and gave it to her and said, if you ever want to get together, if you ever want to talk, blah, 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 here's my number. Now, it's so funny because when it's things like that, it wasn't a pickup. It wasn't a pickup. It was just me reaching out to somebody else that I thought, I got a feeling this person should be in my life. And it took years. But eventually Monica warmed to me, and she is a good friend that is in my life. But it wasn't one of those things that she was immediate. And so sometimes it is the repetition. It's the seeing people over and over again, or whatever it is that may be required. It's the allowing that to happen. I love the way that people reach out to me even over this and sort of, breathe life back into friendships that may have like died from inattention, or sometimes there are things that somehow we figure out, like, wow, I thought, you were different, or I thought she was so different, or whatever that is. It is this thing we build the musculature to put ourselves in certain situations by actually doing it. And so what is it that you can do just like right now that might change things for you, right? If you have been in a situation where you have felt unseen, unheard, that you don't have the connections, whatever it is, what are the things that you can do that then takes you and changes around that situation? Because if we change our thinking, we literally change our lives, right? So what is it? I mean, and this is a question that each of us can ask ourselves, right? I love it when we have the audacity to just approach somebody that that we might not have at any other point, other than because we need to make the connection. Sometimes it is that reaching out, and that reaching out may not just be for you. I had a person who I talked to last year, and it didn't necessarily work out. But what it did do was draw him out of the shell that he had been in. He'd been a recluse. He'd not been talking to any. And that was one of the things I thought was, so nice too about him. But he had been such a closed off person before he met me. And I kind of got in there and mixed things up for him a little bit. And so even though him and I aren't connected, what I did see is that it gave him the courage to make other connections and then to continue on with that. And I love seeing that. So sometimes, when they say that there is a reason and a season and all of that stuff for things, it does not. I tell people all the time, I have been a seed planter. It is my job to plant seeds. I just plant. Right? And so if I'm out here and I'm planting seeds, I may not be the one to water those seeds. As a matter of fact, I may not be the one to pick the flowers or to harvest the crop. But if I do my part, right? Because my part might be a necessary part. So if I just do my part, then I don't have to worry about the totality of it. I don't have to worry that, oh man, I didn't get back there and water. Because you know what? Things happen. Things happen that say for instance, I don't get to water the seed, but God sends rain. I don't get to to prune it or do all the things, but somebody else does that, whatever that may mean. Somebody else may do that role. It's not all, just do your part, however small that might be. And so for me, I can serve as an example for people, even with, just if it is just in showing you that you don't fall apart or explode when things don't go your way. You should have seen me yesterday when I was trying to, I tried something different, and it didn't work out. And guess what? I get to make another choice. I get a do-over. As a matter of fact, because I'm doing this work, I can even put out there. Yesterday, I said something that was extremely personal, revealing something that is extremely personal, and I've shared it on here. I mean, I talk about my ancestry, my family history, and how it informs me. And so when I'm reacting to something, I recognize that sometimes my reaction in the present moment is not even based on my own stuff. Sometimes it's based on, I tell people all the time about my grandmothers and the things that they went through, the trauma that they went through, and how that lives in me. It lives in my body. And so when I'm having a reaction, it's kind of like that commercial with Betty White, right? You ever see that commercial where the guys are playing football and this one guy is making all of this ruckus and acting a knucklehead, and somebody says, dude, you need a Snickers. It's Betty White that's acting like that, right? Betty White is up there like, going through this whole thing, and he's like, dude, you need a Snickers. And they hand him a Snickers, and then he turns back into himself, into the guy. Sometimes it is that perspective that allows us to turn back into ourselves. I know for me, I was like talking and I was like thinking, oh, this is my grandmother. I was like, grandma, go sit down. Let me do this, right? Because what I know is that my grandmother and her mother before him did not have the feeling of empowerment that we as, if you want to say we as women or we as blacks or we as whatever you want to say, but people in the past didn't feel as empowered to give voice to speak to knock down those, whatever it is that they need to knock down. They didn't feel that same empowerment. So there is a lot of fear that comes along with it. And this idea of, oh, don't do that and let's be safe. And I'm like, girl, don't. Yeah, you know what? And here's the thing. Because what I want to do is I also want to honor their fear. Because their fear is there to help me feel safe. That's what I get. It's there on purpose. It's there to help me. So, okay, I get it. I can, if they were present, if your mother or your grandmother was present, you probably just pat them on the hand and say, okay, look, trust me, I got this, right? I got this. Let me do this. And you'll see that it'll all work out okay, right? It's not the end of the world. It's not going to be the death of me. It's not going to, the stakes, the things are different. It's not going to end in the way that it might have in your day. Today, I have new things at my disposal. Today we have new attitudes or new awarenesses. We have different possibilities. And so their fear and their grasping, I can feel it in my body. And I don't know if you feel this in yours. It just depends on the situation. But, I could feel it in my body and I could say to them, you know what? I got this. Let me handle it. Let me do this. And then as I work through it, I'm taking them along with me. A lot of times we have things that we are operating on and we don't even recognize it. Things that drive us towards trying to prove ourselves, that drive us toward success, that drive us toward images of power, that drive us in different areas, and we don't even recognize it. And at certain times, I think that we should all be about the business of trying to say, let me see what is mine to do in this situation. And when we then bring our conscious awareness to it, right? And then start to do these things like over and over again, right? We get to change. That's one of the things that Joe Dispenza talks about, breaking the habit of being yourself. So maybe before you weren't of the mindset that you should be, gregarious, outgoing, that you should go and talk to other people. But if you can have the awareness that you need to do something different to experience something different, then that's powerful right there. Good morning, TJ. How are you? So all of this goes towards this idea that we don't have to be the same that we were. as we were even just before. I tell you, and one of the things that's really interesting to me too is that a lot of times if we get, say for instance, we're paralyzed because in the past something didn't go as we desired. In the past, things may not have worked out. But there is something very powerful about this idea of getting back up right after the fall, getting back up and then saying, yeah, and let me try yet again. This is part of the spiritual, the musculature that we need to develop, the part of the exercise that builds our muscles. It's amazing to me. I used to, when I walked, I used to walk every day. I still walk, but now I'm walking my dog. So it's a different kind of walk. But I used to walk every day. And during this time of year, right here at the beginning of the year, what you see is there's a whole bunch of people that show up to the gym or show up to the track or show up in different areas because part of their resolution, their New Year's resolution is I'm going to get myself healthy. I'm wondering what yours is, right? I'm going to get myself healthy. And that means that I'm going to get out there and I'm going to start walking and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. We make all of these plans. Now, the one and done does not work, right? The one, I'm going to go out here on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I'm going to skip. It is the constant repetition that what works in our bodies also works with our minds. It is circling back on things, doing it over and over again, that then locks that in and it builds a new habit. Joe Dispenza, in his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, said that make a commitment to yourself that, you're going to spend time every single day, whether it is in the morning when you first wake up or at night when you go to bed, but just envisioning yourself in the situation where you want to be. It's not enough to just envision something, but then that envisioning then causes you to put action behind what you're visioning. And so that action then takes you and it gets you closer and closer to where it is that you desire to be. So I went from speaking on Sundays, because that's, as ministers, that's what we do, to then going to every day. And now it's like, it's so second nature to me. I don't even have to think about it anymore. It's the repetition. It's 600 days of repetitiously doing something over and over again that enables you to have the awareness, the structure in order to do that. Whatever it is, you can do the same thing if you decide that you want to set up a new exercise routine or decide that you want to start developing a talent that you have, or if you decide that you want to be different, even in conversation, in how you react, or, we can develop what it is. You can develop what it is that you desire. I mean, some people, it seems like they're just naturally comedic, right? That seems like that. Some people, we think they are just natural singers or natural artists or natural athletes. But even they develop those skills. It's about learning about things like timing or about what works to make you stronger. People don't just like that. It takes persistent efforting towards something. And when you persistently effort towards that, no matter what, sometimes you don't get exactly what you want, but it moves you further down the line, and then you find out things begin to happen that you didn't even anticipate happening. That's when it gets good. And so just the persistent effort in the goal or in the direction that you would have your things to go, that in itself is an amazing thing to accomplish. And you can do it, right? You may not be the person that, because, I don't know that I think I'm funny, right? I think that I'm bold. And my boldness can come across as funny because, that girl will say any darn thing, right? She's that girl, right? So, but I don't know that I am naturally funny. But if that was a value that I had, I'd be sitting here dropping like stuff down, like, trying to, because sometimes there is funniness in the analysis of things, right? You want so bad to have what it is, but you don't have the courage to ask for it. You want so bad to be seen in a particular way, and yet you don't show. To me, that can be comical. But who's laughing when it's them in the hot seat? So this is all about, for me, and what I'm trying to say is this is all about coming to whatever situation you are in with the willingness to step into what you are afraid of, to say yes to it, whatever that might be. Not because you are... And there's, this willingness to be vulnerable is a powerful thing too, right? To be vulnerable and say, you know what, I'm scared. To be vulnerable and say, you know what, I have fallen down in this particular area. I will tell you, if I'm talking about my honest truth, there have been places I could say, part of the prayer work is God, this is the place where I screw it up every single time, right? I could say that. I could say, oh my gosh, when I get to, and I don't know what this might be for you. It could be you feel the resistance coming up in you when you get to a certain level, whether it's on your job, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's even, I've heard of people, this, and this is aside, that, their weight, the body weight, body fat as a protective barrier, right? And so sometimes when you don't recognize that you have put on weight as a protective barrier, you don't recognize that until you start to lose weight and then start thinking like, ooh, you get funny. You get a different attitude. You start acting some kind of way because now all of a sudden as the weight comes off, your deepest fear is that people wouldn't recognize or see you as you. And so this extra weight is a barrier. This extra weight serves as a protectiveness, thinking that you won't get hurt. But then you, on the other hand, you're denying yourself the love because you've got something out there that prevents your experience of it. When you start to look at the ways that our mind seeks to protect us from any number of things, you can say to yourself, and this is what I'm saying, you can say to yourself, oh, this is the place at which I normally mess it up. And if this is the place where you normally mess it up, then how do I get beyond this place? And I tell you, sometimes it's only through prayer. Sometimes it's awareness that this is the spot I normally mess up. And so then when you get to that place, you can say, ooh, right? Let me understand why I'm messing up here. It's my grandma. Oh, it's my, on this side of my family, on that side of my family, they went through this. I get it. I get that this is happening. You can in whatever situation, whether it's even on your job, you might get to a place where, oh, I can't. They want to send me to the next level. Now I need to mess up. I had a girlfriend of mine, I think I mentioned this one time, who used to, she would be dressed down, have on something amazing, and look good on her. And then she would put on neon green stockings with it because she didn't want to come across as being perfect. Or, there's this thing that people do to sort of mess things up a little bit. And it's a psychological need that people have. It's fear showing up. False evidence appearing real. It's fear showing up and saying, I got to throw a monkey wrench in my own stuff. We sabotage ourselves. So when it comes down to whatever it is, it could be, like I said, it could be jobs, relationships, it could be goals, it could be, that book you were talking about writing, I was talking about writing, I am writing. It could be any number of things. Fear will show up and we don't even know where it came from. It's like, where did that come from? It's like all of a sudden you're going, and something just runs past you and jumps in the way. It's fear. And so sometimes we've been there enough to know when it's coming. And now I need to trip that darn thing. Let me stick my foot out there because I already hear it making its way towards me. And I'm going to knock it out because I can, right? We can break the habit. We can be different than what we were. I'm going to say this. I don't even know if I said anything that I came on here to say, but that's what I did. I take off running. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to get off of here. Ephraim, how are you? Happy New Year to you. It's good to see you. So, I have this little dog. Many of you have seen me hold up my dogs. They're asleep. He's on his back right now, sleeping. So I don't want to disturb them, but I have this little one. And it's really interesting as I read more and more about trauma and the reactions that people have as a result of trauma. Trauma is something that is real. And to be trauma informed as to how that looks in the people that are around us enables us to be able to communicate with them even better. So I have this little dog, and it's so interesting to me because even when I get a text message on my phone, it's as if it scares the bejesus out of him. He jumps and will run out of the room over a mere beep on the phone. And I constantly look and wonder what it is that sound is associated with for him. Sometimes we don't take the same care with people to question what may be the thing that sets them off or that is a trigger for them. I shared that I had some friction with a friend of mine's, and as I saw him react to it, I was able to stop and try to bring to my awareness what was going on, who was in the room, what may have triggered the reaction that I received. You guys, whether we're doing it for another person or doing it for ourselves, it is helpful to say to, if it is you or if it is another, to pay attention to the shift that happens. What happened? What's the environment? What could have triggered this? Even if it's you, right? I feel fear present. Like, if it's you feeling it, wherever you feeling it at on your body, bring your awareness to it. This is, and this is something that yoga is good for, is to have body awareness, right? Bring your awareness to it and ask the question, what is it? Why is it here? What triggered this? What am I reacting to? Can I draw some correlations between an event that has happened in the past and what I'm experiencing now? When you start getting curious about the things in your life and maybe make the correlation between something that may have happened, and sometimes it won't even be your experience. Like for me, I know that some of the things, I keep talking about my grandma's, some of the things that I've experienced are not even mine, but I feel a fear reaction to them, right? I feel the fear in my body. And now that I've done the investigating and learned some of my history, I can say, oh, I get where that comes from. Because this trauma is passed on generationally. So I get where that comes from. When you find yourself in situations and you know that this is a spot where you get tripped up, or you know that this is a spot where it could just look like, it may not come across as anger, or it may not be fear. Sometimes it may come across as something as benign as, how do I want to call it? Just relinquishing control, just giving up. Like, oh, I'm not doing that. And you know what it's like to just relinquish control or choices. Sometimes when you feel powerless in certain situations, you don't feel the passion towards what you're doing. All of those things are indicators that there is something, as Raymond says, there's nothing to, there's nothing to heal, only truth to reveal, right? Those opportunities give you the opportunity to pull the curtain back and ask yourself the questions and get down to the nitty gritty of why. Woo! I love it when things come full circle, and that's what that just did for me. It came full circle. So you may not have been here from the first when I started reading those daily guides, but it just came full circle for me. It's good for me. So, whatever the case may be curious about yourself and about your life, and how all of this stuff just works together. It's good. It's good when you just start, when you commit to you. And that means committing to being aware, paying attention, and doing whatever it is that you need to do in order to heal. Okay, so it is time for me to get off of here, and I'm trying to figure out how. That's funny to me because I don't, while it took so long for me to, I don't know how now. That's funny. It took so long for me to figure out how to get on and how to get all this stuff situated and get it to work. And now I can't, maybe it's here. But it's time for me to go. Yeah, trust and believe. I love you and adore you, and I thank you for being here. And I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I get to be on twice. But I will see you tomorrow, God willing. And I hope you have an amazing hump day. But just, open your eyes and see and feel. Feel. Don't be afraid of your feelings. Just feel and then ask it, what are you here to teach me? That's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. So have an amazing, amazing day. All right. Love you.